Hey guys, sorry about that. I was just going to go through this here again real quick. IWM looks like it's having a breakout, with a very nice Bollinger Band expansion. We have a breakout candle here that's very similar to November 2020. It's very similar to August of 2000. Yeah, sorry, November 2016. Also very similar to January 2013 here, with a gap up that hasn't still been filled. I was talking about how dividend stocks are looking the same with the SEHD fund. I was talking about how the ARK fund is actually looking pretty decent. It's just hugging the 20-month moving average up, and the wave trend oscillator looks like it wants to turn positive. Even ARKK is looking better with the wave trend oscillator. It looks like it's turning positive here. You still have a little bit of resistance to trying to break out from on a little bit of negative sloping, 20-month moving average. But I do think that you're seeing a lot of bullish divergence that have been happening here, where price went down, the wave trend oscillator goes up, and then now price kind of gone up a little bit, and wave trend oscillator goes down. So you have like a 2-year span where you have a lot of bullish divergence and a hidden bullish divergence here. And even for ARKG, you have a little bit of wave trend oscillator kind of turning positive over here too. And for XPI, same thing. This looks more bullish because it also includes a little bit more like larger cap stocks. And it just looks like wave trend oscillator looks up, and you also have kind of a little bit of a breakout, like 3 candles over here, and it's touching the Bollinger Band. The Bollinger Band's expanding. So there's really nothing to like be bearish about the market. I think it was just expanding out of breath away from what's been running like crazy, like the semiconductor stocks. It's just been going up like crazy, and you have a little bit of a cool down. You have a little bit of wave trend oscillator kind of turning down here. But I'm still not really that bearish on semiconductor. I just simply think that they are a little bit overextended, but you still have a very, very nice, bull trend overall. And if you look at Ichimoku, I still think that, maybe price just simply got a little bit too far away from the blue line. It just needed to cool down, probably end up going sideways here for a little bit before you wait for the blue line to catch up, maybe even come down a little bit more, correct through price, correct through time. But I still think that there's still some room for semiconductor to go up a lot higher. It's just not necessarily going to be like this big giant move over here, And I made a video on NVDA here in a sec. Like a couple days ago on Friday. So yeah, I think that on the weekly here, do I think that it could be done with this correction in terms of price? Yeah, because it just came back tested the baseline here on the weekly, and found a perfect balance. So maybe this is it, for semiconductor stocks. Maybe, VIX. What is VIX doing? On the weekly, it looks like trying to enter the cloud, and so having a hard time kind of breaking out from it. On the monthly, all it really is doing is it's been a downtrend, and it's just gotten way too down, and it's trying to push back up here. Even the Tenkan is slipping down, right? So it's going to serve as resistance here. and right now the wave channel oscillator is pointing up, so you actually do have a little bit of a bullish divergence here. I can potentially see this bullish divergence playing out a little bit more, and that might still give some large caps here a little bit more of a downward pressure, maybe over the next few months or so. But I cannot be bearish on the market. Just looking at IWM, like this looks like a very, very nice bullish breakout. So maybe it's time to imagine that this might be one of those times where you have a very bullish stock like NVIDIA that's just been going beast mode. We might be entering a stage where it's just too far overextended away from the Tenkan, just kind of like how it was over here. And they could go sideways for about another few months, just like over here, it can go sideways for another few months while you wait, for the other stuff to kind of catch up, like from August to March of 2021, August 2020, when NVIDIA went sideways, that's when IWM really is like beasting, right? So I do wonder whether or not we're going through that period where things that worked before may not work very well anymore. It's not like they're going to go down, but you might have a little bit of opportunity cost there, right? In terms of what I think AMD is doing, I do think that AMD, technically speaking, is actually a little bit more, ready to run, if you will, which is kind of crazy to think about because NVIDIA's fundamentals actually better than AMD, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for coming in. And yeah, I do think AMD, this is a monthly chart. Most likely it's going to close back above the baseline, but who knows? It could kind of break down a little bit here. And either way, for AMD, it's still a bull trend. You can still see that. If I get rid of the Ichimoku cloud, you can still see that 20 milligrams is coming up. So you still have a lot of support underneath below. And if you're talking about the weekly chart, I do think that it's already kind of back test the cloud here. So I see a potential for maybe AMD to kind of close back above the cloud, or it could go all the way back down to the bottom of the cloud here, 130 and bounce. I mean, it's hard for me to say for sure, but it's just looking at the monthly, I think we're close, in terms of the correction. If it goes down further, there's still plenty of support, and I think the lower it goes, the better reward is going to be for AMD. The reason why I think that is because whenever a price just kind of goes down for a few months in a row on like relatively declining volume, generally this is a pretty good, risk reward ratio in terms of getting into AMD. Whenever prices kind of go sideways or go down a little bit for like 5 or 6 months on declining volume, generally it's a good sign for AMD. And so far, it's still a bull trend: higher high, higher low, higher high, and higher low. So I'm not that bearish on AMD, although I'm not having like an individual position on it or anything. I still have like significant exposure to the semiconductor space. And TSM has been like an absolutely incredibly bullish chart. It's just simply got way too far extended, and it just needed to cool down. It's even like more like overextend a little bit than like NVIDIA. So it's just simply cool down. So I can totally see that TSM is cooling down together with NVIDIA. AVGO Broadcom actually looks a little bit more ready to run, and I think it already did like a lot of sideways move and digested a lot of these crazy up move. It's not too far away from the blue line, so I actually think AVGO might be a little bit more bullish, and I actually think that SMCI might actually be looking a little bit better too. Yeah, I should tweet about it. You're not wrong, but hey, maybe I'll just wait for him to find out. Hey, tracker. Meow. Yeah, SMCI actually doesn't look bad at all. In terms of if you look at the Ichimoku monthly strategy, it's not too far overextended. It actually looks pretty decent, which is something crazy to think about. On the Bollinger Band strategy here too, it also looks not like it's not too far overextended either. And on the Super Ichi, it kind of fell underneath of it a little bit, but Super Ichi is generally a little bit faster. So yeah, I just can't be that bearish on SMCI. I think the lowest it goes maybe around like six. Let me see, it was 633. There are, the real blind broker was talking about, I think it was like 666, but I think maybe lowest goes maybe like 633. And to me, I think that would be an excellent area to consider accumulating, because I just think that it's just been forming bull flag after bull flag. And, I don't know. I mean, this just like it just doesn't look like it wants to end yet. Let me pull up the RSI here, actually. Yeah, you just have like two big peaks over here. You don't even have like a bearish divergence on the RSI. Like this RSI is higher than this one over here. You don't even have a bearish divergence. If anything, you have like a lot of hidden bullish divergence that's building up here. But like it is a little bit overheated. I can totally see it going up further on bearish divergence, where RSI keep on making like lower highs, but the price just keeps on going up, and then maybe it happens for another like 12 to 18 months, and then the whole trend can get exhausted. That's kind of what I'm seeing here for this one. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we like to talk about BFRG on Tuesday too. We're gonna do a live stream here. Do I ever trade small caps? I think I think I'm looking at from a cycle perspective. I'm just trying to ride the cycle. And I'm probably not gonna be like too cute about it and just trade short term, because I look at cycles a lot more reliable, and there are a lot more financial instruments that allows you to trade cycles that doesn't subject you to all this decay. Yeah, so I might look more a little bit more into it. Yeah, Trekker's favorite. Well, yeah, the weight trend also looks, pretty decent here. I actually do think that you might be hitting some pretty strong resistance over here, around the 3.3 zone, and simply got rejected. And then it's just, got rejected here on the top of the Bollinger Band here on the weekly. So you're probably going to go through sideways here a little bit, kind of consolidate a little bit here. Again, if you're one of those like head and shoulder pattern people, like, it looks like it tries to form another shoulder maybe, before going up. But yeah, I cannot really be that bearish on this chart right here on the weekly. It just looks like it needs to consolidate, a little bit, going sideways here a little bit here. So yeah, Tracker, you might be onto something here. We'll see. I had some requests earlier on some of my comments. So one of the requests was a stock called RIT, which I have no idea what this is. RIT looks like it's maybe a little bit exhausted, so it's kind of correcting sideways. You're trying to digest this big giant move up here still, from like 7 to like 70 over in a period of like 8 months. So it's just been digesting this move here. It's a little bit of an indecision time. I generally don't like to enter something that has like a little bit of rolling overlook to it. It looks like it wants to kind of, fall underneath the 20-month, and 20-month looks like it wants to kind of flattening out here. So this is probably not one of those that I would necessarily enter. Although this is a weekly chart, right? On the monthly chart, it doesn't look like it's, ending yet. Man, look at this big vicious downtrend. What is this? It looks like it's just simply got way above the upper Bollinger Band here on the monthly. It looks like probably still have some room to go run up higher. It looks like the weight trend oscillator wants to, keep pointing up here. So yeah, I mean, like I can totally see that. If I just look at a weekly chart, I'd be like, I don't know. If you look at a monthly chart, it still looks pretty decent here. You had a bullish cross here. It looks like you're finding some pretty good support here on the Tenkan and Kijun here on the monthly. On the weekly, yeah, it looks like it's trying to find support here again. So I'm not too bearish about it at all. This still looks like a bullish chart. I just don't like the Bollinger Band kind of looking like, it's squeezing on the weekly here, and I don't like that. It's looking like it might be one to roll over here in the short term. So I probably won't enter it, but it's a bullish chart. I'm happy to say that. Somebody asked me about Apple. I'm also going to get this out of the way here as well. I do think, like, on the weekly, maybe it end up correcting sideways a little bit more because you have the weight trend oscillator kind of turning a little bit more negative here. But like on the monthly, if you look at this, you're like, oh, this looks like a big giant shooting star candle here. Should we be worried? Maybe. I mean, like, whenever you have something like this, it could be like a local top. It's just kind of like how it was like a local top over here. Like, these are shooting star candles that do kind of make you a little bit more worried, but it doesn't have to be, right? Like over here, you have a shooting star over here that didn't materialize. So I don't necessarily think that the candle pattern is like the end all be all. Like over here, you have a shooting star, but the next one just kind of went beast mode. Over here, you have a shooting star, but the trend is still kind of going up. The only difference, I guess, is it's on the monthly here is on, like, it got way above the upper Bollinger Band, but the Bollinger Band also looks like it wants to expand here a little bit. So I can totally see Apple going sideways here for a little bit of time to digest the moves that it made from the 160s all the way up to like the 230s to, maybe it just needs to kind of go sideways here for another couple of months or go down a little bit, maybe back test some of the levels down here around like 200 before going up further. I think that you asked me about the fundamentals. I think the earning calls, the comp from last year is going to be a lot easier. I just think that from the fundamental side, even though I don't really like this stock at all, I just don't like Apple all that much. I can't be that bearish on it over the next like 6 to 12 to 18 months. But you might be hitting a little bit of a strong resistance here, and you might be needing to kind of digest some stuff here. Let me see here in terms of what I'm seeing. Why is it? Yeah, let me look at the Fibonacci levels here. Yeah, it simply just kind of got rejected off of close to like the 1.618, that's probably why. Like you're hitting resistance from the Bollinger Band and 1.618. So yeah, I see maybe down a little bit or maybe sideways, but you maybe down a little bit, maybe like $20, $30 more, or maybe just sideways through time. That's kind of what I'm seeing here with Apple. Ichimoku Cloud, a little bit too far overextended. You know, yeah, whenever I have something like this, kind of like something like this, you just got a little bit overextended. You might correct through time or you might correct through price. Can get close to the blue line, and hopefully blue line catches up over time. But I do see blue line maybe kind of going sideways here a little bit for a couple of months. So that's why I think price probably going to go sideways here for a little bit. All right, let's talk about a couple other ones here. I do want to talk about fintech. You guys asking about SOFI. I do still think that SoFi still have this pitchfork channel here that's probably still going to end up working out through time. And we're simply just kind of hitting the top of this area over here, and we got a little bit rejected, but we're trying to develop some of like a range over here. I think we're just range bound between these two until breaking out. And if IWM is going to do what I think it's going to do, I think that SoFi is going to do pretty well. Let me get rid of this pitchfork here. And just looking at the monthly, like I think that we're unfortunately kind of broken down underneath a lot of these resistance, and we're gonna have to like back test. $8 is gonna be a level that SoFi may have a hard time breaking above. In the short term, I can't talk a lot about this recently already. You have the Kijun on the red line over here as resistance. Although the monthly weight trend also looks like it wants to turn flat and turn positive, right? And also this green candle here also is coming with like a little bit more increased volume over here. You look at a weekly, $8 is also where the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud here, so that's going to be resistance here. And we got rejected over here last week, which is not unexpected. I think we're trying to establish a new range between maybe around like 7.1 to around $8, and we need to kind of digest this move all the way from, like around 6.2, around $6 here, all the way up to $8. We just need to simply digest this move here a little bit. If you're like one of those inverted head and shoulder guys or gals, you're farming maybe a little bit more inverse head and shoulder over here to allow SoFi to go a lot higher. Wave trend still looks positive, so I do see that we might end up continuing to kind of go sideways and maybe go up here, challenge the $8 range here for a little bit. I still think that anything that's under $8 is like a buy to me. I still think that a lot of these stocks are looking very similar to what like Tesla was doing, where it's just kind of range bound over here before a big breakout. I potentially see that for SoFi. Like, is it going to be like that big giant breakout to like 11, 12, or $14, and then come back down for like some brutal back test like 10, 9, $8? I don't know. All I see is that it looks like it's just been oscillating between the cloud here, and it looks like it wants to form a new range, and it looks like the range is looking like it wants to be up, because just looking at the higher time frame, like the trend oscillator, it looks like it's really starting to kind of flatten out here. And you're also really talking about, let me see here. And I've been talking about this for, for quite some time here on different time frames. You can see that, let's see, on the weekly here. Yeah, that really tells a whole picture here. This is the on balance volume, and price has simply been going down while the unbalanced volume is actually kind of trending up, like down from here to there and up from here to here, right? Down from here in November to like, to like July, and up from here to here, right? So there's a lot of secret buying pressure here for SoFi. And if you just look at like, the institutional ownership for SoFi, and it's just been like steadily increasing, and we don't have that exponential move up anymore for July, but it's still up, the entire time, when price is just kind of going down for like from here to here. Those greedy buttholes are accumulating. They're accumulating behind the scenes. So I don't know, like I can't be that bearish on SoFi. I still think that really anything that's under $8 is probably gonna be a good buy. I'm gonna keep buying at this range. If it breaks down underneath below, then so be it. But I think that based on what I'm seeing, I can't really be that bearish on SoFi, especially IWM had a recent breakout. So yeah, we'll see what SoFi does. You guys are going to ask me about other fintech stocks here. Affirm, the cloud didn't serve as support, very well. It broke down underneath, and like we kind of got rejected here on top of the cloud here a little bit. But I still think that the cloud is not really that meaningful because it's not that meaningful of support or resistance here. On the 2 week, let me see here. I want to do the Tsukiichi cloud here. Yeah, same thing. You're seeing that it's just kind of slowly going down on declining volume, and on the monthly, it's kind of slowly going down on like declining volume, and you kind of got underneath all of these initially. I thought might be support here around like the low 30s. Initially I thought they were going to be support, but it just keeps on breaking down on low volume, and wherever things break down on low volume, I am more bullish on them. That's it. Like if they want to just keep bringing down the stock in low volume, what can I say? I'll keep buying, especially when the rates are going down, especially in U.S. liquidity is going up. Right now, you're hitting a very important support zone over here on a horizontal. So I can't really be that bearish on a firm. And this is one of those stocks that I've been buying. Let me see. Yeah, you're kind of stuck inside like this trading range over here now. I think the bottom may be around like 25, 26, top maybe 30. But this thing has just been going down low volume. So I don't, whenever I see something like this, I like it. The wave trend oscillator, yeah, it's just been going sideways. Like even though when price can go down, but the trend looks like it's really trying to find a bottom. You know, on the weekly, it's still pointing down here, unfortunately. On the 2 week, it's still pointing down here, unfortunately. On the monthly, it's also pointing down here, unfortunately. But I do think that because, like with Affirm, I'm more looking at like the macroeconomics. I'm more looking at the volume. And I'm looking at the fact that you have like 4 inside candles over here on this big giant green candle, on declining volume. Like the lower it goes, I think the better reward ratio there is. Shopify, very similar look to it, right? Like 4 inside candles over here on the 2-month chart. On the monthly chart, Shopify looks like it's stuck in a range. On the weekly chart, looks like it's broken underneath the cloud here, which again got me a little bit more sad about it, but I still cannot really be that bearish on it on the higher time frame. It just looks like it's finding support where it needed to be on the monthly chart here. So yeah, I can't really be that bearish on it. I really like to see it reclaiming the 20-month moving average here, though, if it can. But yeah, I mean, I think it's doing what it needs to be doing. But I would like to see it kind of form a little bit more of a base around like the high 50s, low 60s. Because right now it still looks like a little bit of a downtrend here. So we'll see whether or not this bounce here is the bounce that we're looking for. We'll go up higher. But this is also one of those stocks that, like, the lower it goes, I think the better risk reward ratio is. And it's hard to be too bullish on the weekly time frame because I still think that right now is showing maybe there's still some potential downside here on the short term. But like just on the monthly, it just looks like it's stuck in a range. And yeah, I still like it. Again, I can't be that bearish on Shopify if like yields are going down, if the US liquidity is going up. I just can't really be that like bearish on it. So I keep buying Shopify. Square is one of those stocks that I think will also do very well. It just simply looks like a very, very much of a basing accumulation behavior kind of stock. So yeah, I like it. I'm not in it because I'm just like simply way too exposed to like Bitcoin miners. I'm way too exposed to fintech. I had like SoFi, Affirm, and Shop. So I'm not in SQ. Would I buy? Yeah, I think I would, but I just don't want to be too like over concentrated. When it comes to these kinds of stocks. But I'm bullish on it. Look at the Ichimoku Cloud. Looks like it wants to do a little bit of a bullish cross here. Initially, I thought that the Tenkan was going to hold here around like the low 60s. It didn't end up holding and ended up breaking down underneath, which is also part of the reason why I still haven't really like answered this. And it looks like it's also underneath this big giant volume shelf here around 65, $66, right? So you still kind of, unfortunately kind of broke underneath of this resistance here, but on declining volume. A lot of these fintech stocks look the same. And, Square looked the same. I initially also thought that last week the weekly Ichimoku cloud was going to hold. Ended up not doing that. Ended up forming more or less a little bit like a, Marubasu candle. It just kind of went down with very low wick. So in the short term, could Square end up going down further? Possible. Like this candle over here without much wick look very similar to this candle over here without much wick. Look very similar to this candle here without much wick, right? But whenever you have a candle like this, I do think that it doesn't necessarily have to correct through price, but you're probably going to end up going sideways here a little bit and try to break back above the weekly cloud. I'll be very pleasantly surprised if SQ just do like a reversal candle and just go up. Currently, the momentum doesn't look like it's there for it quite yet. I don't like the way that the weekly candle is closing. So I don't know whether or not this is a stock that would necessarily enter like next week, but it's on my radar. I do like the overall pattern that it's trying to make. I just think that it needs to form another low over here, form a little bit of basing B here. I don't think it's going to go back to like 30s or 40s at all, right? But I would just like to see it, trying to find support somewhere. Right now it's just been having still some resistance above, so it's probably going to end up going sideways here for a few weeks, maybe a little bit down in the high 50s before trying to form basing behavior before going up. That's kind of what I see with Square. PayPal. You guys ask about PayPal because you like pain. PayPal. Ishimoku, again, I would like for PayPal to kind of reclaim the blue line over here. It's simply not really doing quite just yet. Hi, hey Vivian. Good morning. welcome to everybody. Yeah, I think PayPal, initially this is definitely a basing behavior. Like I don't think PayPal is going to go down below like 50, but I just like for PayPal to reclaim the blue line here, and I like to see the red get a little bit closer to the blue. I do think that the blue line is really basing. It's not downward sloping anymore, so it's not going to serve as like a strong resistance like it did over here. The blue line is called Tenkin, by the way. This is the Ishimoku analysis. I do think that it's going to flip the blue line from resistance to support, just maybe give it another couple months. I do think that by the end of 2024, we're probably going to end up seeing price, hit maybe the upper part of this range over here around like the mid 70s. That's where I see price going on for like the next few months. I just don't really see like a big giant explosive move. It's probably not going to happen until maybe 2025. And then 2025, you can see PayPal going to like the triple digits. But based on what I'm seeing right now, maybe not 2024. And it's also part of the reason why I exited the stock and I just put that power on other things, maybe on more like Bitcoin related or crypto related stocks, maybe more on like SoFi, other stocks too, because I just see that PayPal is probably going to need a little bit more time to form a base. And there's nothing like bad about it. But it's just trying and it just needs to keep basing, right? On the weekly, Ichimoku look like how it broke down underneath the cloud. And right now, cloud's resistance, and it might end up being underneath for another few weeks, and it might end up breaking above the cloud here in like late, like Q4 2024, and maybe backtest and just end up the year maybe around like the mid 70s. I can see that happening, right? That's kind of how I see PayPal. But that's more or less speculation. But I do think that PayPal has bottomed. I do think that it needs to challenge a downward sloping 20-month moving average. It's been doing that. It's just been failing. It's still pointing downwards, which is why I don't think you're going to end up having like a complete explosive move up. I can totally see that it just pierces the 20-month moving average, gets back about, got rejected around the mid 70s, come back down, back test, and then maybe end the year around like mid 70s before going up further. That's kind of how I see it. Not necessarily a play that I would want to really necessarily get into, but that's kind of how I see with PayPal. Let's see. Yeah, I'm looking through here. Heavier plays are Ethereum and Doge. Yeah. I'm definitely gonna be. You're using my cat, my Cantonese cat emoji. I love that. Yeah, SoFi earning in 2 weeks, that might be a catalyst for it to go up, but honestly, like, I really don't think that, Wall Street really cares about, like, profitability or anything like that with SoFi. And another thing with SoFi that I still love is that the 20-month moving average is pointing up still. Like, it's crazy how the 20-month moving average is pointing up still, right? Which is why I don't think that the 20 moving average, which is right around like 7.5, which is why I don't think that it's going to serve as very bad resistance at all. I think it's going to be actually relatively easy for SoFi to kind of break above and backtest and go up. The reason why is because 20 moving average is pointing up, so it's not a bad resistance. Whenever things point down, like moving averages, any like resistance, if they're pointing down, that usually tells you that, hey, maybe it's through a little bit of a downtrend here. But when things point up, I just think that we have a chance here, guys. I don't know, but like it just looks like we have a chance to kind of break back above, back test, and go up higher. That's what I see with SoFi. So yeah, momentum can shift, and I think over the next few months, maybe the momentum is going to end up shifting towards like SoFi, Shopify, and Affirm, and Square, and maybe even PayPal. But do I think that it's going to be like a big explosive move for a lot of these stocks? Not necessarily. Affirm, I'm pretty bullish on Affirm, like for the longer term, because I still think that we just gone way too far, way too fast, and we're just basically trying to back test on the level, trying to find a little bit of a higher low before going up higher. I don't know where the higher low is going to be. I think that range of down here is going to be very, very good higher low. So I still think that the risk reward ratio is going to be pretty good. You asked me about miners. I keep updating you guys miners every 2 or 3 days. I don't know. Somebody talk about open door. Open door looked very similar to SoFi actually. Looks like the 20-month moving average has been basing, and we got rejected here so far. But it looks like it wants to break back up about the 20-month here. Looks like the wave trend oscillator is kind of curling positive. Looks like we have some pretty decent buying volume here for the month of July. And if you also just pull up the Ichimoku, you're still underneath resistance here on the monthly. And on the weekly, it looks like a little bit more range bound here. It looks like you might be finding a new range between maybe like 2.2, 2.3, and 2.7. Hopefully this range holds. Again, a lot of these stocks look very similar to like what Tesla was doing on the Ichimoku cloud. Can they break down? Do they have to work out? No, but it looks like it's trying to reclaim some previous resistance, like the weekly Tengen here, from resistance to support and back testing it. It could break down, right? But like it looks like it wants to do maybe a little bit more of a new range. And if you're able to hold the new range, there's a possibility that it could break up. I want to talk about miners. You wanted me to talk about miners, and talk about miners. I probably won't go through all of them, but let's see. Somebody asked me earlier in the chat, IREN and Riot. IREN is, how should I say that? IREN, you knew that it was overextended. You knew that it's going to have to even correct through price or time just a few weeks ago. When price is around like 15, 16 bucks, you knew that it's going to end up digesting through time. Now, nobody really knows whether or not it was just going to bounce from the ARK, or nobody knows if it's just going to end up like going down to like 8 bucks or 7.5, or no one knows it's going to end up being somewhere in between. Like I was initially, I was kind of thinking, okay, so it could either, I can see two different like scenario. I can see price kind of range bound here between like 14.15 to like 11.5. I can see it range bound here for maybe like 2 or 3 months, before going up further. I can also see it breaking down underneath to backtest some of these support levels down here. The Tengen was rising up, so there's a possibility that we could have found support over here too, but now it just ended up breaking down. And, the week ended up closing underneath the red line over here, which is, the red is around like 9.65. We closed the week underneath of that, but it was also on declining volume, right? So how I would view it is, it could be a false breakdown, because whenever you break down underneath an important level, you really need another week to kind of confirm that. One way for me to show you that was like NVDA. It was breaking down underneath the Tengen over here, and it just ended up breaking back above, the next week. And then also the QQQ, initially looks like it broke down underneath here. Next thing you know, it just back tested, looks like it was going to get rejected and go down a lot further, right? But no, it just ended up breaking back above. So I don't really see IREN breakdown underneath the red line, the baseline here, to be a guarantee that it's going to go down to $8. It does increase the risk of it doing it. And if it does go down to $8, I mean, I might actually start to load up even more because there's like I see $8 as a very, very strong support level because we have resistance over here for a very, very long time around like the 8.5 range. So I see that it probably doesn't have that much further to go down. And there's also a possibility where it just a false breakdown, it just breaks back up above, right? Depending what Bitcoin does, depending what IWM does. Because I do think that this correction has happened enough. Like, I don't think it has to do anything more crazier. But yeah, your risk level is going to be like $8, I would say. And I would also venture this too. I would say that it might correct sideways for longer than people might expect. Even if Bitcoin goes up higher, I can totally see that IREN can go sideways for September, October, and get people really pissed off. I can totally see that. The IREN over Bitcoin chart is also, initially it was broken above the cloud. Oh, super bullish. I could see it kind of backtesting the cloud here and go sideways before going up, but then it broke underneath the cloud, right? So I don't see IREN outperforming Bitcoin anytime soon because it has already been doing that for like half a year. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's already been doing it for like half a year. So I don't really see IREN outperforming Bitcoin anytime soon. If you worry about opportunity costs, maybe you can go from here to there and to somewhere else that looks a bit more bullish, but it's not financial advice. For me, like, I don't care. I bought in like the 4s. If it goes down to the 8 form or higher low, I'm playing the cycle here. Like, I think the cycle's still got like a ways up, but I don't really care about like the small moves for like from like 16 to like $8. I don't really care about like the 50% moves. I don't care. And also looks like backtesting this wick over here too. You also have a little bit of a level over here. It was previously served as support around the current range, so it doesn't have to break down to like $8. I think it's a hold still, but if it gets down to $8 zone, that to me that might be a buy. That's IREN. And you asked me about Riot. Riot is still the same. Like, it's underneath the resistance here. Yeah, I did touch a little bit on XPI a little bit earlier. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But on Riot, it's simply is doing what a lot of stocks are doing. Remember I was telling you about like how I don't have Riot because I have SOFI. It's the same stock. They're going through the same technicals. Like, they got rejected from the cloud, and now it's range bound between the Tenkan and the Kijun, and it's trying to reclaim the blue line, the Tenkan, from resistance to support. Like, I have SoFi. I don't need to buy Riot. Hey, Matsby, I got my usual crew here. Got the Trekker, got the Mats. You guys are funny. Anyway, so I see Riot doing very similar thing, trying to reclaim some resistance from resistance to support, back testing it, maybe a little bit range bound here. And it could certainly challenge the cloud. The cloud's getting pretty thin over here, right? The weekly wave trend oscillator is getting better. The buying volume over the last few weeks is up, so I can potentially see it range bound here again. It might range bound a little bit longer than people would like. And I can potentially see Riot going all the way through like August and September and get people like really pissed off, getting their calls all like expiring. I can totally see that, and then just push up, back test, and go higher. I can see that happening. On the bull support band is reclaiming it, right? So you are seeing some pretty decent things here. Again, like, I see a lot of things kind of just like lagging behind Tesla. Over down here, like, it went underneath the bull support band for a very long time before breaking out. And I don't really necessarily see that happening with like SoFi or Riot. I see Riot, maybe more like forming more of a base before going up because it's still underneath a lot of resistance. But if I'm wrong, and if we end up breaking about this range in a hurry, maybe over the next few weeks, I'm happy to be wrong. I'm positioned well for this. If Riot and SoFi breaks about this range, just keeps going higher, I have my fintech stocks, I have my miners, I'm good. You know, would I buy Riot when it's stuck in a new range like this? Probably not. I just feel that there are other stocks, and I think the Matsby would agree with me as well. Like you have a lot of stocks that look like they may be relatively more ready to run. Like CleanSpark is relatively on the bottom part of like a lot of supports over here. Mara looks like it's bounced from the cloud. Bitfarm looks like it's bounced from the cloud. You see like how these other stocks look better in terms of it doesn't have as much resistance underneath of it. And I agree with the Matsby like 100%. And like CIFR looks like it's ready to run. IREN is already broken above all of these things. It just simply had to do back test. Wolf is also already broken out a lot of these things. Just simply have to do like back test, in terms of where I think Wolf is going to be. Like, could it end up finding a bottom here, go sideways a little bit longer? Does it go down a little bit further to like the $3 range? I don't know. But like, it looks like it's just broken above all of these things, right? Even BitDeer looks very nice. Even HUT looks very nice. It's just beasted up and then back test the tank in here. Is this completely normal technical? Yeah. Like if you're finding a lot of resistance up here around like 20 range and price just beasted over like about half a year, it's gonna come back down and try and find some like higher low here. Is it gonna go back inside the cloud? There's a possibility it's gonna touch a boomer support band. There's a possibility. But yeah, even HUT looks better. Like cores looks good. Like it's kind of just forming a little bit of a sideways. And then you talk about HUT. You know what I mean? Like it's a laggard and it's still stuck in a range and it's underneath the cloud. I don't have anything against Riot. I do think it's going to break out. And for like a chart like this, I already have a position in like a stock that I believe in, which is SoFi. So I don't need to get into Riot. That's kind of what I would say about that. Now you asking about the difference between Mara and CleanSpark. Let's do something a little bit different here. I haven't looked at this before. If you ask me about Mara over CleanSpark, I gotta say, and this might be controversial, but not necessarily so, because CleanSpark's been doing nothing while Mara has actually been forming better technicals. So if you look at this chart here, and this is the Mara over CleanSpark chart, what do you think? Do you think that over the last, say, 4 months or so, ever since this nice like dragonfly candle over here, over this like Mara over CleanSpark chart, do I think that this trend is up? Do I think that it's been flipping a lot of the resistance level from resistance to support? Like the blue line, like the conversion line or the Tenkan line, like the bull market support band, do I think that it's flipping all these resistance from resistance to support? Do I think that Mara looks like it wants to develop a bull trend over CleanSpark? It does, right? So to me, a lot of people are crapping on like the fundamentals of maybe a lot of people are crapping on the fundamentals of Mara, talking about their management. So first of all, I never believe in like what the management say when it comes to miners. I think they're all a little bit scammy. but I cannot argue against like the hodling stack for Mara. In the setting of like Bitcoin probably going to end up doing pretty well here moving forward. And it does look a little bit more like Mara's trying to develop a little bit of a bull trend over CleanSpark here. That's what I'm saying. That's on a weekly time frame, right? On a monthly time frame, man, like Mara is still horrible against CleanSpark. Like Mara is still pretty horrible against CleanSpark, and like I can totally see maybe Mara could continue to like do very well against CleanSpark up here, for maybe a few months, and then you might end up getting like a lot of resistance levels up here, and then next thing you know, like CleanSpark can outperform Mara again. I can totally see that, but look at the monthly like trend oscillator here. Like Mara is stacking against CleanSpark pretty well here. You do have a little bit of a bear flag, so who knows? Maybe this is just like a short-term thing, and you do have a little bit of like a hanging, not hanging man. This is a shooting star top right here. So who knows? I have both. I don't care. They both look pretty decent to me. I still think CleanSpark wants to break into the monthly Ichimoku cloud, and I still think that Mara, is so far as above the monthly Tenkan or monthly conversion line, so it's probably going to end up gravitating up towards the cloud. Yeah, so I'm bullish on them both. But if you're asking me like to pick one, I don't know. Like Mara has a bullish crosshair on the monthly, on the wave trend oscillator, and CleanSpark hasn't. So it makes sense for Mara to maybe run a little bit faster than CleanSpark in the short term. But I have both. So yeah, I know. No, nobody. Maybe I should post that. Nah, I'm just gonna make the Mara over CleanSpark a little bit of exclusive chart for you guys because I love you guys. I don't care about X. I don't know, whatever. Yeah, but that's kind of what I see. I think I've touched on a lot of things already. One last thing I want to touch on, unless if you guys have XPI. I talked a little bit about XPI at the beginning. I'm bullish XPI. The only problem is it's hitting a resistance zone. XPI is touching like the $100 zone, which has been resistance here in March, and also resistance in like 2020, and was flipped as support here around September 2020. Was resistance throughout 2018, and it just looks like it's a very, very strong resistance level, based on like volume shelf, based on a lot of things, right? And you also have this uptrend here with 3 candles up here on declining volume. So I do wonder, is it going to gravitate towards the cloud and then end up getting rejected? Or is it going to end up gravitating towards the cloud and then back test this important level and go up higher? Or does it still take some time, a little bit more down where it's underneath the cloud to digest it? Because you do have a pretty thick cloud over here that could be, like relatively strong resistance, right? And you also have $100 being like strong resistance zone over here, right? But on the other hand, if I see fintech doing well, if I see small cap doing well, if I see rates going down, if I see US money, and if like a very strong higher low over here, I cannot be that bearish on XPI. I do think maybe it kind of goes sideways down here for a month or two, but I do think that it's going to probably end up gravitating into the cloud. And once it gets inside the cloud, like it has to work out its technical, but I think that most likely it's going to end up breaking out. Do I think it's going to hit that's like all-time high over here, like 177 anytime soon? No. I mean, I think it's going to have to take maybe a couple of years to even consider getting up there. But so far, the trend is looking nice. You had a bullish cross here in March 2024, and you have a very, very nice bounce from support, and I think it's going to take another few months for the blue line to kind of catch up. It's a little bit too far over extended from the blue line. If you see months are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. So next month, the blue line is going to shoot up just based on the way that the blue line is being calculated. And whenever blue line shoots up, you're basically talking about prices not being so far overextended anymore, allowing prices to go up higher, right? But I think you might end up needing to consolidate sideways for another month or two to kind of digest this move up here on declining volume. The trend is still up. I'm still looking, bullish. I think right at this level here, like at resistance, I would say it's probably like a hold, because I could be wrong, because it could just push back through, right? I would say it's probably a hold. But if it goes down a little bit further down, maybe like to like the 90 zone, 91, 92, that might be a little bit more like a buy zone. Again, not financial advice. This is all just purely like based on technicals. I'm not telling you to buy, not telling you to sell, but like that's kind of what I'm seeing with XPI. Yeah, do I have time briefly to explain how a comparison chart works? I don't know how you see the comparison. All you do is just click on the symbol. I don't know whether or not it's because I have like the cheapest version of of trading. People have access to this, and also have access to like this different time frames, like 2-week, things like that. On 2-week actually looks pretty decent, by the way. I have like these different access to that, but all you do is just click on the symbol, and then you can do whatever you want. Like you can do, if you want to see whether or not something's outperformed something, like I'd like to look at the MSTR over BTCUSD chart, and that pulls it up for you. Like all you can see here is this. Does MicroStrategy look like one of outperforming Bitcoin? The answer is yes. Because it looks like it's just broken above the monthly Ichimoku cloud over here. So it looks like MicroStrategy wants to keep running, and it looks like it wants to outperform Bitcoin further. So like these things are not hard to do. Like, is Palantir like going to just keep on like beating SoFi moving forward? Yeah, I can see that, but it looks like it's a little bit overextended, doesn't it? Maybe it's time for SoFi to shine over Palantir. Like I can look at all these like, and it also looks like this thing is like just been kind of going up on like declining volume. I don't know actually the volume is correct on these comparison chart, but I think it's just something funny to think about. Yeah, like Palantir is outperforming SoFi, and the trend is very, very bullish, but we're a little bit overexhausted over here. You got a little bit of like a shooting star cannon over here. So maybe it's going to go down. That doesn't mean Palantir is going to go down. Maybe SoFi is going to go up. I just think that these charts are very, very fun to look at. Although you have to take a with a grain of salt. Like I can chart anything. I think like MATSB and Tracker, like we can all track anything because we can all use these tools to like look at a lot of different things. But yeah, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't mean anything. But I just think it's fun. Like you can speculate that maybe SoFi is going to catch up to Palantir soon, right? But yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing. Like if you just look at Bollinger Band, it looks like it's expanding, but it's just simply hitting resistance. So who knows? Anyway, I think those are like I'm gonna share a little bit more on. Yeah, thank you, Mark, for weighing in. Yeah, the pair trading thing is yeah is valid. Like especially when you're comparing within like the same sector, I do think is valid. Yeah, so I'm gonna end with China. I'm gonna end with China. Um, it's still trying to like the Hang Seng Index Fund is still trying to flip the 20-month from resistance to support. Still not able to do that, but but it's looking better. Like it really looks like it's trying, is flattening. I really think that over the next like the second half, like Q3, Q4 is probably gonna have flipping the 20-month from like resistance to support. And I think that that's the case. It's going to be really bullish for like crypto and just also US equities in general. KWEB looks better, but also same thing. It got a little bit rejected over here. Um, it's not quite ready for prime time yet. I was hoping that the Tenkan would hold, but the month is still early, right? You have three more days to the month, so maybe it end up closing back above the conversion here. That's a possibility. KWEB initially I thought it was just stuck in a range here, but it did lose the baseline here a little bit. But again, you still have 3 days before the month close, and you still have potential where you just kind of have like a little bit of a false breakdown. You did have a bullish cross here too for KWEB, right? Whereas the Hang Seng hasn't really had that bullish cross here on a monthly. But yeah, is it surprising that price gravitated back down to this 17,000 level? No, because it looks like a pretty important level previously here too. So I think that it's trying to break the trend here. It is a little bit trendless so far because it did have a higher low here, but it has yet to form a higher high. And I do think that over time it's going to end up gravitating up towards the monthly Ichimoku cloud around like the 20,000, maybe like early 2025 is kind of what I'm seeing. But yeah, there's still things that I still think that it needs to work out as technical. So I'm it's not quite ready yet. BABA, same thing, right? Look at like the 20-month moving average. It's flattening, so it has a better chance now. But I still don't think that BABA is ready for prime time. I think right around the time when BABA is ready for prime time is going to be like right around when PayPal is ready for prime time. Like these charts technically like relatively similar, although China actually looks a little bit more bullish than PayPal. So I do think that maybe give another few months for technical to work out itself. If it does, next thing you know, it could go up pretty high, maybe towards early 2025 is my guess. Yeah, BABA though is still not ready for prime time. If you're thinking that BABA is just going to shoot up from here, no. It's underneath resistance on the 20-month. It's underneath resistance here in the Tenkan. I'm not going to be bullish until it like breaks back about the Tenkan, back test it. It's stuck in the range here a little bit before going up higher. So I don't see it going up to the triple digits this year. I'm just going to put my money on I don't think it's going to go into the triple digits this year. And if that doesn't seem to fit your thoughts, that's fine. You could be right. I could be wrong. I'm just showing you the technicals. It looks like it's trying to challenge the Tenkan over here for 3 months in a row. and on one of those months and on high volume. So I do think that it looks like I think this over here is the bottom, like in the 50s. I think that's the bottom. And I think it's going to probably end up doing a trend change, but that could take time for BABA. JD's chart looked very similar to BABA. Same thing, right? Getting rejected here. Initially, I was like, "Ooh, are you kidding me? Are you gonna get back about the Tenkan?" But looks like it's a shooting star kind of thing over here. So of course, it didn't hold. Bearish engulfing again. Bearish engulfing candle doesn't always have to work out, right? Because sometimes you can just have like a bearish engulfing monthly, and next thing it'll probably just go sideways. these things don't always have to work out. But anyway, I would like to see reclaiming the Tenkan. It hasn't really been doing so. 10 cents look better. 10 cent looks a lot better. I don't know if it's because of the fundamentals for 10 cent. I don't know whether or not it's because I talked about AFRM already. Fetchin, my favorite Fetchin. I talked about AFRM a little bit earlier. So yeah, if you want to go back to maybe like, I don't know, maybe like 20 minute in or something like that. 10 cent actually looks better. I don't know if it's because of the fundamentals. They do have a lot of hands on their, a lot of pots in their hands, or I don't know what the saying is, but it does look a little bit more decent, right? Bullish cross, maybe back testing around like the 43 range, 42 and a half range. That could be decent support there. But it looks like it's just hitting resistance up here around like 50, which is completely understandable based on the previous horizontal zone over here. And once it's able to work out its technicals, maybe come back down a little bit, wherever it ends up finding a little bit of a higher low, they're probably going to end up like hitting the 50 level here around, late 2024, early 2025, and see whether or not break inside the cloud and do its thing and break out. It looks better. Pingdodua, PDD, looks very nice too. It looks like it might be trying to break down underneath the Tenkan here, but like because it's how it's crawling up, I still think that, I still think it's consolidated sideways enough. Again, I don't know about the fundamentals of Pinduoduo. I think some people are saying that it's like a little bit scammy. It's they're only benefiting from like shipping rates and loopholes, things like that. Those loopholes are going to close and they're not going to do very well. There's always that possibility, but just looking at like the pure technical side of it, this looks like a pretty bullish chart. I'm not, and also like the downtrend so far the last couple of months, it's on like very sort of declining volume. So this is one of the better charts here. I know Vivian probably wants to talk about FUTU. I did not enter FUTU. I think FUTU, how should I say this? If I'm going to enter a stock, I want like a pretty decent sized position. I don't want to just like nimble anymore at this point, because nimbling is like meaningless. It just gets me to be more distracted from like my core beliefs and my core holdings. So I don't want to like really get into like a stock like FUTU and just buy a little bit, for fun. I do think that this is one of the most bullish charts there is, though, just in the whole stock market. The problem is you do have a little bit of a wave trend like monthly here, but these things are usually a little bit delayed anyway. I'm not really that bearish just because it's about to have a bearish cross. Like over here, you had a bearish cross over here. Price went from like 54 to like 46. Big deal. But that was like the end of this bear trend down. So I don't know. Like I can totally see it doing something like it wants to go down to like lower. I do think that this is a very important support zone over here, though. The reason why is because I think this whole thing here is an ascending triangle, and this thing is a breakout of the ascending triangle and back test of the ascending triangle. Let me see. Do I have? Yeah, I have that labels right here. I think that the whole thing right here is like the back test of this ascending triangle. Ascending triangles are bullish. Bullish cross rectangle kitchen is bullish. So simply just trying to find a little bit of a higher low after forming a higher high. How far does that higher low goes? I don't know. Can it go down? Could this be it? This could be it. And next thing you know, it ends up challenging the cloud up here again in the 70s and breaks inside a cloud, back test the cloud and go up higher. I can see that happening. The other thing that it could do is, could it come back down and test the triangle again at the bottom here? Maybe even close it to the baseline down here in the 50s. Now, if that happens, that really does get me a little bit more excited about it. But yeah, I don't know. FUTU is like DD posted upside down. Yeah. So I don't know. Like I think that this could be it, or it could go down another few dollars more, and this could be it. But this looks like a bull trend. And yeah, I like this chart, but I just hesitate to start a big position because I have more, you know, higher conviction on like Palantir, Tesla, even the semiconductor stocks. I still have higher conviction on them over the next like 6 to 12 to 18 months. I have conviction on fintech stocks, and I have conviction on small caps. You know, so do I want to necessarily like stretch my conviction over Bitcoin as well, right? So do I have conviction to enter FUTU and kind of like diversify further? Not necessarily, but yeah, if I had to pick a Chinese stock, it's going to be that. What is DD doing? How bad is DD? Ooh. Whoa. Okay. Did DD get delisted? Is that what happened? Okay. I mean, I can't find the chart. So, um, yeah, Neo. Am I bullish on Neo? Um, this is the weekly chart. The weekly chart looks a little bit better. I'm gonna go through. Neo and XPEV or Xpeng, and I'll probably end the live stream. It's been fun. But yeah, I mean, I think Neo on the weekly is still underneath a lot of resistance. You know, I can still see that the bullish cross hasn't happened yet. Even if it does, I can still see it potentially getting rejected. It maybe even form a little bit of a low. It may not get that down to like the $3.50 range anymore, but I could potentially see getting still getting rejected here and go down a little bit further, maybe like to $4 or something like that before potentially challenge it back up. I don't know. I'm not ready for Neo based on the technicals. Let's look at the monthly and see what Neo is. Why I'm not that bullish on it. I can like it's just way underneath a lot of the resistance zone above. It's getting rejected on the weekly here also by the bull market support band. It's just been negative sloping, you know, and it minimally has to go sideways. Minimally has to go sideways for like a couple months before I can be really that bullish on it. But can it like have a surprising kind of shooting up like that and then back to go higher? Sure, but I just wouldn't count it because the red line, the baseline or Kijun is like very negative sloping. There's a lack of support zone over here. If it breaks above it as through resistance, there's a potential that a lot of people are going to sell the rip, kind of like they did over here, because these support resistance things I'm looking at, they're like all negative sloping, so they're not going to be very very good. Like over here, like it slept through it, right? The Tengen over here, it was hoping that it would flip that into support. But the problem, this illustrates this issue here perfectly, right? The problem is, yeah, Tengen is flat enough to be support, but it was just not ready because the bull support band above it is still negative sloping. So basically just slap the price back underneath the Tengen. And right now, the bull support band looks like it could potentially be flattening out here a little bit. We'll see how it goes. If it's end up being able to flattening down here a little bit, then we have a little bit more of a chance, you know. But it's still a bearish stock here. Just looking at the technical, so I won't look into this quite just yet. And the other way to kind of illustrate Neo still is if you look at the monthly, like the higher time frame, it's still way away from the still negative sloping 20-month moving average. So minimally, it needs to go sideways here a little bit longer to turn the 20 moving average a little bit flatter. So that would be a little bit, potentially a little bit more bullish here. But yeah, it's not ready. I do see that the monthly oscillator like is a little bit positive sloping, but it might just kind of go sideways here for a little bit. Like this is meaningless. What I am a little bit more leaning, a little bit more bullish is Xpeng, Xiaopeng. It's still way underneath the 20-month, but it looks like 20-month is flattening, right? You can see why it's flattening because Xpeng actually has better technicals than Neo. Like you can see that Neo is just a downtrend. Xpeng actually looks like it's flattening out. So if I had to get into a Chinese EV stock, well, if I had to get into a Chinese EV stock, let me see. Li Auto, man, like it's just been oscillating. It's been doing nothing. But if I get into a Chinese EV stocks, if you like really like force me to do it, I guess I could potentially see and get into like XPEV. I can potentially see it hitting like the 20-month getting rejected there and trying to find some support underneath and go up higher. I can potentially see that. You know, the Ichimoku, same thing. Like, you know, you basically have a lot of confluence. Like, you have resistance above. I see it hitting some resistance above, getting rejected, and then on the weekly time frame, it's been nicely flipping a lot of these kinds of previous resistance into potential support. You know, like I see XPEF potentially bouncing maybe over the next few months or so to like the teens, maybe, and then getting rejected and then find support and go up higher. But on the weekly, it's starting to look a little bit more bullish. So if I had to pick between the two, I'll pick Expand. But on the higher time frame, it just looks like so nasty. It still looks like pretty nasty here, underneath a lot of resistance, that I probably won't. I'll probably just leave this alone. You could totally trade this move though. Like when I think like a couple weeks ago, I was talking about like, yeah, Expand doesn't look bad. Yeah, I can see it totally being a trade, and it could be a very, very big move, you know. But you might not get rejected. So if you want to get into it, I think like, you know, to buy might be like a few weeks ago. and there's still a lot of meat left in the bone in terms of like the resistance levels and things like that. But that would just be a trade. And this is not financial advice. I'm not trading this. I'm not buying. I'm not trading this. I'm just going to leave it alone. So bacon. I was bacon. You should look back. I don't know if you saw this. I was showing this Mara over clean spark chart. Bacon. You look at this and you'll see what I mean. Like this is. I'm gonna look at the weekly here. Yeah, Mara over clean spark chart. Looks like a pretty nice breakout of like a head and shoulder and a back test, doesn't it? So yeah, bacon. I think your Mara might be might do pretty good. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, nice talking to you guys. It's been over an hour. I'm gonna get off now, and yeah, it looks okay. Yeah, it will. Yeah, there's an okay, man. If you say so. Man, I've always been trying to get Bacon to do some kind of like live stream or something with me, you know. But yeah, but he's just he doesn't want to turn nice. He just doesn't want to turn nice. I don't know why. He's such a sweet bacon. He's like maple syrup bacon. But anyway, I'm done. You guys have a good weekend or the rest of the weekend, and take care. Bye.